salakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai shri gurave namah. Gurave gaurachandraya radhikaya tudaya krishnaya krishna bhaktaya tadabhaktaya namo namah. Yang pravrjantam anupetam apeta krityam tvaipayano virahakatarvajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo banedos tang sarvabhuta hridayam Munimanatosmi Bhaktya Vina Aparadalakshay Chirtasya Kamani Tarangamadi Kripamaitvam Sharanam Prapadam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tavaivasmi Na jivami tam vina Iti vigyaya radhe Tam nayamam charanantike. First I offer my unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Astotra Sat Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev. Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Astotra Sat Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, to our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and to Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, and all of his transcendental associates. Thank you very much for coming tonight on this very auspicious Adivas, or the eve of the Divine Disappearance Day of Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. This is Disappearance Day. There's no difference between the Appearance Day and the Disappearance Day of the bona fide pure devotee, because both days are opportunities to remember him, and by that remembrance we become free by his mercy from all obstacles in bhakti, and all auspiciousness comes. Conversely, by neglecting to remember him, especially on these days, all obstacles come and all inauspiciousness comes. So we're fortunate that we have this opportunity where he's giving very special mercy. When Srila Gurudev was in Australia in 2002, he gave a whole week to a particular theme of a particular verse. And on the first day of that week, he said, "Today is Guru Day." And the verse he quoted, which he quoted throughout the week, and if you know it, you can kindly say it with me. Payam dvatiya biniveshitasya ishadapetasya viparjayosmati tanmayayatam buddhirabhafesham bhaktyayikajesam gurudevatatma. All fear is due to a sense of duality, or thinking that there's something other then Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and identifying with this gross material body, the start of which was when, from the Tatastha point, we had the choice to go to the spiritual world or the material world, and we took the material world. Since then, the illusory energy of the Lord, Maya, has thrown us into two kinds of jail, the gross body and the subtle body. The illusory energy is like a shadow that's following us, a shadow of sense gratification, material knowledge, impersonal liberation. If we go forward towards Krishna, then that shadow always follows us, isn't it? Wherever you go, there's a shadow behind you. If we turn towards the shadow and try to touch and feel and enjoy that shadow, we find that there's nothing there. There's no substance. Sense gratification has no substance. Dost thou work, dost thou beest. But if we go forward, then the shadow or sense gratification, economic development, everything follows. All facility is there. Once I remember Gurudev said that Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, she's always following me. Please give me some service. And I say, I'm not interested, but she's always following with folded palms. So, what is the way forward? I'm just explaining this verse. What is the way forward? The way forward is to engage in devotional service to the Lord under the guidance of Sri Guru, who one accepts as his very life and soul. Another way to put that, he explained, is that Guru Deva Tatma, Sri Guru, is not only non-different from our Atma, but also more intimate than our own Atma. The day after he gave the first class of this week-long subject of Sri Guru, I said to him that you say that the Guru is non-different from our Atma, but I don't think like that. Whenever I see you, I just feel guilt and shame because I'm thinking that I'm not serving you nicely and I'm not properly following your instructions. So he said, yes, that's why I gave that class. So you know that there's no separation between us. Just like there's no separation between water and its wetness, or fire and its heat and light. Then he jumped up to Goloka Vrindavan, and he said there's no separation, just as there's no separation between Krishna and the gopis. But in order to increase the love, there's an appearance of separation. And Krishna creates situations where it looks like there's separation, but there's not really any separation. Same thing with Guru and disciple. So this is the first day of the 2-day Viraha festival, Mahamahotsav festival. V means special, and Raha means meeting. So by feeling separation, by remembering in separation Sri Guru, one has a special kind of meeting that destroys all sins, all anarthas, all unwanted habits, material desires, disturbing mental conceptions, and also the desire. What I'm quoting from now is an article by our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhaktipragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, on the separation feelings of Sri Guru. So the desire to enjoy the property of Sri Guru is burnt up in the fire of that separation. So who is Guru? He's the Diksha Guru, is the embodiment, the manifestation of the form of Sri Krishna. The Shiksha Guru is the manifestation of the intrinsic nature of Sri Krishna. And as one is transmigrating through the 8,400,000 species of life for billions and billions of years, when his sojourn through the species is coming to an end, at that time he meets Sri Guru. So our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, is such a personality. We're very fortunate to have the opportunity to remember him. I'll share some experiences that I had with him. Once in Los Angeles, at the end of his lecture, I said, "You say, and scripture says, that Guru is one. But in this one life, I've had two Gurus. Srila Prabhupada is my Diksha Guru and you're my Shiksha Guru. So how can I understand that Guru is one if I have two Gurus?" So he said, Krishna is one, but he expanded into billions of, or he appeared to have expanded into billions of forms to dance with all the gopis. But he's the same one Krishna. So Guru appears in an infinity of forms, but he's the same non-different manifestation of Sri Krishna. Shakshad Hari Tena Samasta Shastre Uktus Tatava Vyata Eva Sadabi. All the scriptures confirm that Sri Guru, being a non-different manifestation of the Lord, he has all the qualities of the Lord. All the 8 mystic powers of becoming lighter than an atom, heavier than a planet. He can fly through all the different universes. He can bring anyone under his control. He can reach out to another planet and get a fruit like that. All the 8 mystic perfections are an insignificant byproduct of the devotional service of that pure devotee. I had the opportunity to travel with him all over the world from 1996 to 2010 through many different countries, and witness how he, by his many themes in the different cities and countries, impregnated the planet with the seeds of devotional service by his sound vibration. Whether or not the particular audience, or anyone in the particular audience, was understanding everything he said was irrelevant, because the transcendental sound vibration of the pure devotee has an effect on the person. Like if I say, "You're not your body," don't identify with the body. So I'm giving you information. But when Sri Guru says that, it means he's impregnating you with the seed of that realization. I want to pass out something that half of this audience has and the other half doesn't. So Kamala, if you could kindly give out to whoever doesn't have it. Where'd it go? Yes. This is something that Gurudev wants us to know, how to come very close to him. These are 2 excerpts from 2 lectures that he gave on accepting the books as Shiksha Guru. That is, he's saying, nowadays, I see that devotees have so many problems. And because of these problems, they cannot chant regularly. Sometimes they're restless and upset, and thus they give up worshipping Thakurji, chanting and remembering. So I have come to remind you not to be weak. Your suffering will increase by whatever you're doing to make it decrease. So then he said, read more. And when you read, put the book on your head, put the book on your heart, and pray, "Oh Prabhu, you're not a book. You're," let's say it's this book. Let's say it's Walking with a Saint. "Oh Prabhu, you're not a book. You're Gurudev yourself. And here I am walking with you in 2008 to many cities around the world and hearing from you directly. Please shower your mercy upon me so that I can realize everything that you're personally telling me." He said, if we read in this way, then all Siddhanta, all philosophical truths will become manifest in our heart. And if we read just to read, then we'll be full of all doubts. So our Srila Prabhupada also used to teach us that these are not books. He said the Krishna book is Krishna himself. Chaitanya Charitamrita is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in the form of a book, taking that form, but actually is he himself. So I passed out these papers, and I'm saying this now because he stressed this all over the world, that we can experience very intimate relationship with him or any bona fide guru who's non-different from his books by regularly reading in this way. And I want to just summarize the various themes that I experienced him speaking about in the different countries. Sometimes, and he would do this regularly, year after year, his major themes were the conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramananda, in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Rai Ramananda. Rai Ramananda is one of the most intimate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and who is Radha and Krishna combined, or Krishna having become overwhelmed with the mood and complexion of Srimati Radhika in order to taste her love, and as a byproduct, give the maid service to Radhika, to all the fortunate living entities. And Ramananda Rai is one of the most intimate Sakis of Srimati Radhika, Vishaka. So the two of them are working together in order to bring us from the ABCs of going towards perfection to the postgraduate study. Mahaprabhu is asking Ramananda Rai, what is the perfection of life and what is the sadhana or process to reach it? And every time Ramananda Rai says something which people of the world believe is the perfection, Mahaprabhu said, no, that's external, go further. So he went further and further and further until finally he came to the gift that Mahaprabhu came to give the world, and that our Srila Gurudev was a very special opener of that theme, perhaps more than any other acharya of the modern day or any day, in traveling around the world and openly explaining how to achieve the pinnacle of devotion, which pleases Krishna the most. Not only pleases Krishna the most, but becomes so enchanting to him that he's about to faint. And he becomes under the control of that associate, of that devotee, of that maidservant of Srimati Radhika. There's one verse where Krishna is saying to Radhika in the Seva Kunj painting, Smaragarala Kandanam Mamashira Shimandanam Dehi Pada Padavam Udaram, that please place your lotus feet on my head, be magnanimous to me. So in the Gita Govinda, in the introduction, it's explained that Sri Krishna has this mood towards the maidservants of Radhika as well, that he surrenders and falls at their feet. In fact, in one of Srila Rupa Goswami's prayers, she says, when will I be like a guard at your kunj, and Krishna will have to fall at my feet so that I'll allow him to come to the kunj to get your darshan. So Srila Gurudev is appealing to everyone that comes in his contact. Just think of yourself as a Palyadasi, an unpaid maidservant of Srimati Radhika. So many themes he taught all over the world to bring, with the aim and objective of bringing everyone to that end. In fact, all over the world he'd preach. Without a goal, without an aim, one cannot have a process, the process of bhakti. Just like you all came here to this hall tonight. So without knowing where you were going, when you would leave by your car or by train or however you were coming, you wouldn't even be able to go one step in any direction. So Srila Gurudev, one of his great contributions is stressing the goal and then the step-by-step process to get there. So his other themes are taking everyone during his week or 10-day visit in any city through all the cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, from 1st to 10th canto. Another theme is the 5 kinds of bhaktas, from the lowest kind to the highest kind, so that we would know who I should follow and how much to follow them. For example, Prahlad Maharaj, he's a Jnani Bhakta. That means he has knowledge, awareness of Krishna's godhood. And his great quality was that he was able to tolerate all the sufferings that his father was trying to give him, and he returned his father's cruelty by praying for his father's deliverance to Lord Nrsingadev. But because he had knowledge of the Lord's godhood, he couldn't engage in any intimate service. He couldn't even give the Lord a glass of water after he worked so hard to kill his father, because he thought he never gets thirsty. He never gets tired. So Srila Gurudev brings everybody to the higher and higher stages so we know who to follow and for what. For Prahlad, we want to be tolerant no matter what anybody does to us. And another theme, so Srimad Bhagavatam, the 5 kinds of bhaktas, Ramananda Rai Sambad, sometimes the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Srimad Bhagavatam came about by Narada Muni encouraging Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of the Lord, and by speaking about Sukadeva Goswami, who is the Suka, the parrot of Radha and Krishna, who came all the way from Goloka Vrindavan and took the form of a young man just to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srila Gurudev is giving these themes all over the world. What's another theme? Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami, starting from there are so many species of life, and out of all those species hardly any is human. Out of all the species of human, hardly any is civilized. In all the civilized human beings, hardly anybody is a devotee. Of all the devotees, hardly anyone is a devotee of Krishna. And then how one becomes a devotee. How by traveling through the universes, one gradually picks up spiritual pious credits. And when he has enough, he meets a bona fide guru who gives the seed of bhakti. And then he waters that seed. And gradually it sprouts into a plant. And then that plant becomes a tree and goes throughout all the different universes to all the spiritual universes, to Goloka Vrindavan, and wraps itself around the lotus feet of Krishna, where it bears fruits and flowers. There's the seed of our relationship with Krishna is already there in our soul, but then what does it mean that the spiritual master gives the seed if the seed is already there? Srila Gurudev explained that it means that he gives the environment for that seed to fructify and grow. So some of the personal experiences that I've had, I discussed yesterday some of the experiences in regard to the paintings. Also, back in the 90s, there were just a few of us. There wasn't a ton of disciples, thousands and thousands of disciples that like he has now. So every couple of days, a few of us would go and sit with him for an hour and a half, and ask so many questions, and he'd spend a lot of time giving the answers. Like one time, I said to him, you say that the air itself in Vrindavan is a pure devotee. So are all the dust particles of Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, also pure devotees? So he said, there's no question of no need for being pure devotees. Every dust particle is ras itself. Do you know what ras is? Ras sometimes is defined as juice, the taste of juice. But this ras is what Krishna tastes and what Radha tastes in their loving relationship. So every particle of dust is that rasa. And then he told about the Palinda girls. He quoted the Venu Geet, where the gopis, Srimati Radhika is glorifying the Palinda girls. That how fortunate are these tribes women in Vrindavan, early in the morning, when they're going to their work of carrying wood and selling wood for fuel, they see on the grass of Vrindavan the kumkum powder coming from the breasts of some fortunate gopi. And then these Palinda girls become filled with amorous desires. And then they take that kumkum dust mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna, which got stuck to the grass because of the morning dew. And they take that and smear it all over their faces and bodies and feel fully satisfied, as though they're meeting Krishna directly. So Srimati Radhika is saying, I wish that I would take my next birth as one of these tribeswomen. Then I'll have that fortune to meet with Krishna. I don't have such fortune because I'm forced by the rules and regulations of a chaste housewife. Whereas, and our fathers-in-law stop us, our husbands would stop us. But these Palinda girls are so fortunate that even if their father-in-laws tried to stop them, They wouldn't care. They would go anyway. And besides that, their father-in-laws don't stop them. So Srimati Radhika is uttering this verse without knowing that it's from her that kumkum came. So this is like extreme humility and appreciation of everyone else's bhakti. So Srila Gurudev is explaining that all the dust particles in Vrindavan is this ras. And because I was asking about the air, once he, a few days before that, he was telling us that the air is the pure devotee. He said that Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur prays to the air. That once Radhika was in transcendental jealous anger. She refused to speak with Krishna. And no matter what he did to win her favor, he was unsuccessful. So he went to the west side of Radhakund and lamented. So the air wanted to do some service. So the air went under Radharani's veil, took her fragrance, went across Radhakund, went under Krishna's nostrils, and Krishna felt that now my life is successful. Now I've attained Srimati Radhika. So he said Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur is praying to the air. And he's trying to cultivate in us a following of these prayers by our great acharyas, to pray to them that these are your prayers. Please make them my prayers. Gurudev would often say that our main word in our vocabulary is when. When, oh when will that day be mine? He also taught us to pray, to follow Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, that the maidservants of Srimati Radhika have to give Krishna permission to come into the kunjas. And they sweep those kunjas with the, those Indian broomsticks. So my desire, because Krishna has to please them, these maidservants who sweep the courtyard, he has to propitiate them or please them sometimes to be able to get into the kunj, that Supreme Lord who's a mere portion breathes in and out universes. So I pray that I'll become one of the sticks on that broom that sweeps the kunj of Srimati Radhika. It's not that he only went around the world speaking these high topics. He gave so many classes on Devahuti, on Chitraketu Maharaj, on Dhruva Maharaj, on Ambarish Maharaj, throughout the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to gradually purify us, to become qualified, to have a greed, to become the maidservant of Srimati Radhika. Once in the early 90s, 92, myself and Vrindavan Vilasini and Aditya, my two god sisters, were taken by Srila Gurudev on a short parikrama, just us, through the rubble of near Radha Damodar and a few other temples in Vrindavan. And every time we came to another deity, he was bowing down and we were bowing down. And at that time, I was saying Namam Vishnu Padaya to Srila Prabhupada, you all know that prayer, in front of every altar. So I said, well, what do you say? It didn't occur to me that something else could be said or needs to be said. So he said, when you come to my status, when you become like me, then you will know what I am doing, where and why I am doing, and what I am saying. He said, every time I go to a different deity, I pray to that deity. For example, we were just at Radha Damodar temple. So I prayed, Anga Shamalim, and if you know it, please say it with me. Anga Shamalim Chatabirabito Mandi Kritendi Varam Jadyum Jagururochi Sambikaratam Pitambarasya Shriya Vrindaranya Nivasinam Hridila Sattam Abhiramodaram Radha Skanda Niveshito Jwalajulam Dhyayandamodaram Dhyayandamodaram. So I worship Damodar, who has a complexion like a fresh rain cloud, whose garments defeat the lightning, who wears a Vaijayanti Mala garland on his neck, and who resides in Vrindavan. And the last line is Radha Skanda Niveshi Dojvalabhajam, who rests his arm on the shoulder of Srimati Radhika. So it sounds pretty normal, doesn't it? Just rests his hand on her shoulder. So what does this mean? It means, Gurudev gave the deep meaning, that by ras, by pastimes, he can't live without her. He faints without her. He's ready to give up his life without her. If she's angry with him, or for some reason her mother-in-law won't let her out of the house, and he's feeling so much separation, he's weeping, he's rolling on the ground, or if she's angry, he has to send so many messengers to try to please her. And by tattva, by philosophical truth, she is his power. She is his pleasure potency. She is his energy. So without the sunlight, what is the meaning of the sun? It has no meaning. It has no existence. So without Srimati Radhika, Krishna is Nirvishesh Brahma, the qualityless, impersonal, absolute truth. We say Sri Bhagavan. Bhagavan means, you know what Bhagavan means? Bhagya means,
Full of all opulences?
What?
Full of all opulences?
Full of all opulences, 6 opulences. Beauty, wealth, fame, knowledge, renunciation, and fame.
Strength.
Huh? Strength. Thank you. So, but he's called Sri Bhagavan. Why? Because if Srimati Radhika is not on his left side with him, then he's not Bhagavan, but he's impersonal Brahmajyoti, or super soul, Paramatma. So I have a lot of experiences with Srila Gurudev in writing articles. He would always push me to write articles whenever there was a challenge to his carrying on the the mission of Srila Prabhupada, that he was a challenge to his being the best explainer of Prabhupada's glories on the face of the earth. Any criticism of him, that, oh, he's speaking differently or against our Srila Prabhupada, we would write articles. And once there was a challenge saying that Prabhupada says this, and he says this, and Prabhupada says that, but he says that. So we were in the middle of, a few of us, writing an article with the quotes of Srila Prabhupada, the real quotes of Srila Prabhupada, and showing how they totally matched up with Srila Gurudev, and how the people who were writing the article, they were actually saying something that was different from Srila Prabhupada. So when we were in the middle of that particular article, we were a little late, so we were in Badger working as hard as we could to put in all the evidences, and Gurudev called me to his quarters where he was staying at Nirgun's house. And so when I went there to see him, he said, "When will you finish the article? After I die?" And it was great being hurried by him, wasn't it? Another time, he had called on me to give Prabhupada's quotes to prove that we didn't fall from Goloka Vrindavan, but we had a choice at the Tatastha line which way to go, because there's no Maya in Vrindavan. It's as worshipable as Krishna himself. So I was standing up trying to give some evidences, and then as I was standing there, he told me to work with the other publishers of his books to get together a book on those evidences by Gurudev's lectures, Gurudev's morning walks and darshans, Prabhupada's excerpts, and some chapters from Jaiva Dharma to get that book together, which was later on called Journey of the Soul. Do you have that here? So we were working on it, and whenever it was like Prabhupada's sannyas day, or any day in relation to Prabhupada, his appearance day or disappearance day, and Gurudev would always glorify him. So several times he'd mention, and Syamarani has gotten together many quotes of evidence from Prabhupada that we didn't fall from Goloka Vrindavan. So it sounded like he was saying, thank you, that the compilation was already out. So about 5 years later, Srila Gurudev was in Durban, South Africa, and I said to him, "Gurudev, we only have one more question for you before we're ready to print the book." He said, "You haven't printed the book yet?" I said, "No, we only have one more question." So he said, "Oh my God." And then when we were doing the line drawings for his Gita Govinda in Hindi, and it was taking too long, he said, "When will you do it? After you die?" And for the, many of you have been to his Govardhan temple, and you see all the big bas reliefs. So he gave us 1 month to do 35 big gigantic bas reliefs. Means making the sketches, waiting for the sculptors to do the white plaster, and then painting. 1 month before Gurudev would come with his 1,000 pilgrims to Govardhan. So at the beginning of the parikrama, Vasanti and I went to see him in Mathura, where he was starting the parikrama, because we, the team of 20 or so artists and cooks, we were staying in Govardhan to make it, and we didn't participate in the first 2 weeks of the parikrama. So Vasanti and I came with the computer to Mathura to show on computer how the bas reliefs were developing and get any direction from him. So I said, if you had given us more time, it would have been easier for us to finish, and we could have gone in parikrama, so many things. So I said, but then again, our Prabhupada put us on a 2-month marathon to do 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita and 2 volumes of the 5th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. The press devotees and the art department. He said, yes, he is Bhakti Vedanta and I am Bhakti Vedanta, no less. So I can do that if I want. Once I said to him, because I was always nervous that, is he going to call on me or is he not going to call on me? And if he does call on me, I don't know if I'm going to be able to say anything, and if it doesn't call me, it means that he knows I'm a has-been, and I just get totally mental. So I said to him, we were in New Zealand with him, and I said, could you please just tell me ahead of time whenever you want me to speak so that I can prepare something? So he said, I'll do whatever I want. But sometimes, even if I've been studying something, and he'll call on me, and then in my nervousness, I won't give all the proper information. Like he called on me to speak on the first verse of Gopi Geet, and I said everything except the main sentence, just because I was nervous. And then after I spoke, he went, thank you. He'd like to embarrass us to make us humble. Wherever he went, he spoke about his book distribution. One time he said, during the time of my Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, all of his disciples were so enthusiastic. The young teenagers, they were young teenagers, and they would go into the streets without any shyness, chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda and the Hare Krishna mantra, and they would go to airports and seaports and malls, everywhere distributing his books. He said, now I see a little enthusiasm, but not so much enthusiasm. He is my Shiksha Guru, and his disciples did that for him, so why not for me? I want to follow him. Then he said, if you don't distribute my books with the same enthusiasm as in his day, then I will think you're not qualified as my disciples. And every time he had a Harikatha festival in any city, like Badger, California, Italy, he'd say, I want my book table emptied. I want to see no books at the end, by the end of the festivals. And he'd say, if you would just each take books to distribute, then easily it can be gone. And sometimes he would say, if you just take 10 books and distribute them throughout if all of you would take 10 books and distribute them throughout 1 year, he's really going down to the bottom of the barrel with us. So here also we have a table of so many books. And one of these books, the girls just brought 100 from India. And this is a very special book. It's called Walking with a Saint. Everybody who's read this book has said that they feel like they're on the walk with him. And they're hearing personally his answers to questions. And this particular year, I think 4 morning walk books were printed. And this was the first one. It was after this year that Srila Gurudev gave an order to one of the senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada. He said, you've heard so much from me over so many years. So you have an obligation to me now. I want you to make these walk books. But after a whole year, nothing happened. So then we were in Italy, and and he said to that devotee, I've said so many special secret things in this year, especially in the pastime of Brahma Bimohan Lila, when Lord Brahma stole the cows and cowherd boys of Krishna. I told so many secret things. So I want this into a book so that all the devotees will make so much benefit. So anyway, in a year, nothing happened. So when we were in Italy, Gurudev called me and Vasanti, and he said, I want you to do these walk books. So we said, but you already asked so-and-so to do it. So he said, he will take a year of Brahma. And speaking of Brahma, just to show how Gurudev liked, you have to go now? Okay, see you soon then.
Take James.
You want to, somebody?
Just get some prashad.
Good, okay. So, just to show that he really liked when the devotees would write articles proving that he is actually following Srila Prabhupada's line, not only following Srila Prabhupada's line, but showing us what is Prabhupada's line. Because even we, as Prabhupada's direct Diksha disciple, didn't know why Prabhupada came to this earth. We knew he came to encourage everybody to go back to Godhead, but we didn't know what back to Godhead meant. We knew that it was Goloka Vrindavan, but we didn't know the actual process to get there, because we were all his little kids. And just like there are little kids here, and the parents will say to the little kids who don't want to drink their milk, just drink your milk and you'll become a big, powerful athlete. Or if the child doesn't want to study, to do their homework, the parent says, just do your homework and you'll become a big, powerful lawyer. And we know that's not the case. So Srila Prabhupada would tell us, just distribute my books and you'll go back to home, back to Godhead. Just chant 16 rounds and follow the regulative principles and you'll go back to home, back to Godhead. We didn't know that you have to have a special exact point that you're aiming for. And we didn't know what even Lord Chaitanya came to give. And then everything else was just a byproduct of giving that specific thing. That Unata Ujjvala Ras Swabhakti Sriyam. We saw it all over Prabhupada's books, that verse, but we didn't know what Sriyam meant. We weren't meant to know it at that time. We weren't meant to know it until the right moment came and we had enough Sukritis and Sanskars to meet Srila Prabhupada's spiritual successor, Srila Gurudev. In Prabhupada's books, in the word for word, it said, Shriyam means treasure. So treasure is generally something that's locked, a treasure chest. So the first time that Srila Gurudev came to the West was in Badger. He went first to the Manor, actually, on his way to America. First Holland, then England, the Manor, and then he went to Badger. And there he said that the father may leave a bond for the child when the child is young, but the child can't cash that bond until he's 21. Because if he will cash it when he's still a kid, what will he get? Baseball cards, bubble gum, and waste that valuable thing that he needs for his success in life. So he said that, so Prabhupada left this bond for you all. And so now it's time for you to collect. And he's sending me here to help you collect that bond. So he was very encouraging for the devotees to preach what Prabhupada's real mission is and how Srila Gurudev is giving that real mission. So he encouraged me to write articles because he said, whenever somebody will criticize and not understand me, that I am actually bringing, Prabhupada gave me the water to water all the seeds that he planted, some of which are drying up as seeds, some of which have sprouted a little bit, but then are drying up because of not getting the water. of pure Harikatha. So he's given me that water. So whenever the devotees would travel and tell people that he's giving the water of the seeds that Prabhupada planted, then he would become very grateful. And similarly with the articles. So he said, whenever somebody criticizes me, Syamarani will always cut their arguments. He said, even if Brahma would criticize me, she would cut his arguments. So I became very enthusiastic to... Of course, he didn't only say good things about me. He said a lot of bad things too. He said, so for you to give a class, you read something, you speak it, and then you forget it. That is, there's nothing there. Because that... Remember he once said to you all that, why am I asking you to learn these verses? One of the days, and I was amazed when I heard Madhavraj Prabhu and the others just rattle off these verses every day. But one day he said, why am I asking you to learn these verses? Only so that they'll go into your heart. And then that purifies us. He said, suppose I say, this was in France, suppose I say, you come to me during the festival, I say, how are you? You say, fine. I said, you fine? Yeah, Gurudev, I'm fine. You don't tell me that you have a few girlfriends. So, because you're keeping it from me, this very small problem will go in like a needle and it will explode like an atom bomb and your bhakti will be destroyed. And next to that, at another time, he said, if you're very lusty and you tell me I have so much lust, then I can personally take it away. But if you're trying to hide it from me, then it will destroy you because you kept it from me. You wouldn't open up your heart to me. So thank you for sharing. That was really great. Sita.
She's not here.
Not here. At his house, didn't he? Came for a program at your house? Did Gurudev come to your house for a program?
No, not directly.
Gurudev, the mind reader, and the puller into his heart. So, Kamala, let us see for ourselves. So the wife immediately became attracted to Gurudev, and Gurudev gave her a lot of attention because she was appreciating so much his Harikatha, 1997. And the husband was a little bit careful, and Gurudev wasn't looking at him or talking to him. But every day, because of Gurudev's powerful Harikatha, he was speaking actually the book that became the pinnacle of devotion, which we have back there on the table. He was speaking the lectures that made that book about why Mahaprabhu came. So every day the husband was getting more and more interested, and every day Gurudev was not talking to him, not looking at him, talking to his wife and all the other devotees. So by the last day, he was completely frantic in his mind calling out, when are you going to talk to me? And by that time he was so interested in feeling surrendered in his heart. And then Gurudev turned to him at the end and said, I'm working on you. So we can't tell all the deep things that Gurudev's doing. When I saw Ramananda Prabhu, I remembered that in his first visit to Holland, in the first year, you're from Holland, right? He was at the house with the sisters. With all this, yeah, and he said, why do you go to astrologers? I could simply look at your forehead and tell you 10,000 lives past and future. So he's so powerful and so drawing, and you were drawn, and so beautiful hearing the other devotees also explaining how they were drawn and what he was doing to them. Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Yeah? You met him?
Yeah.
All right. Back in the early 90s? Back in the early 90s?
2010, the Commonwealth Games were taking place in Delhi, which are like almost as big as the Olympics. They shut down the whole city. That's why they built the metro. That's why they redid the airport. It was a huge thing. So, and when I heard about it the year before, I thought, oh, we got to distribute books there. And it turned out that the next year, Gurudev started his Sikh pastime, and he was staying in the Delhi Mott. So 7, 6, 7, Charles, he was there. We were distributing books every day at the games, and we found that, what was that sport called? There was this one really big, I don't know. Anyways, there was this one really big game that was like really late at night, and it was really great distribution after. And actually one day, sorry to go backtrack because the Commonwealth was so static, there was this one day where there was this scare and everyone was saying that Gurudev was going to leave this day, and we were thinking, should we go or not go? Sometimes we were singing bhajans outside his door, and sometimes they would open the curtain so we could have darshan. And we're thinking, should we go, not go? And they were like, we came to do our service. Our service is book distribution, let's go. And when we went, India was playing Pakistan, and India won. So it was like they won the war. And so when the people were coming out, they were just in this like ecstatic mood, and everyone was taking books. And then I saw a devotee that I had met when I first went to this ISKCON temple named Bhakta Avatar, who was always dancing. You just chant a little bit, how you sing for a second, and he's just dancing. And so we had this, and he knew Gurudev, and he said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your Gurudev. And he had some ISKCON devotees with him, and we just did this let's do a big kirtan. We did a big kirtan for Gurudev, and the ISKCON devotees were distributing Gurudev's books with us. And at that moment I was thinking Gurudev's doing this Sikh Leela, and he was, when you would see him in his bed, he was like so little. He appeared to be so small. I was thinking, but actually he's so gigantic. He's so big. So, anyways, that week was amazing, and so many donations came in, and Indian rupees are so dirty and like all squished up, and so we had this big bag of rupees, and I went on the last day I asked Brajnath Prabhu, can the girls and I come in and give Gurudev the donations? And he said, we've turned Gurudev's room into a hospital room, so he doesn't have to be in the hospital, so he could be here in the Mott, and sometimes we can open the door and everyone can see him. He said, so only not so many people can come in, so either you give him the money now or not at all. And so I had to do it. I was like, by Gurudev, we were staying out till like 12, 1 in the morning, coming home at like 12 or 1 to the Mott, and then everyone would get up before 4 o'clock for Arti, all week, and Brajnath was like, sorry. So Gurudev was outside on this rocking chair, and the energy just emanating from this, like, I just, the zing, and I said, Gurudev, this week, 7 girls and I, we went, and we were serving books every night at this Commonwealth Games, and these are the donations that we collected, and I gave Gurudev the bag, and he put his hand on top of the bag, and he tapped it 3 times, and I just felt like he was blessing all those sincere souls who were donating, and it was really amazing. So I just wanted to share one other thing since I have the mic. I wasn't going to, but actually it's amazing how, as Kamala said when we're sharing about Gurudev, I think maybe Syamarani should leave because you're not going to want to hear this, but I think everybody in this room has pretty much been touched by Syamarani, and if it wasn't actually for her, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to travel on tour with Gurudev for 8 years, and actually this is my 15th, and exactly 15 years that the 2002 tour after Kartik, which started at the beginning of December, so we went to Australia, so this is my anniversary, 15 years being with Syamarani, and I'm not saying it for that. I was just thinking as we were driving here that actually we're so fortunate to have this like double potency Prabhupada Gurudev Vaishnavi with us, who knows their heart and has painted their heart and has done so much, and I kind of forgot where I'm going with this, but I just wanted to. I never, it's like we're always together and we're doing this and we'll email that and what about this book, and like I never really had the proper opportunity.
That's not what you're supposed to be talking about.
Thank you.
Tonight.
I know. So I just wanted to publicly thank you. But I'll talk a little bit about tour real quick because, as Madhavat who said, or I think that being on tour with Gurudev, it was like a festival every day. I wasn't with him as much as Madhavat. I wasn't with him every day, but Gurudev just was so. He had all qualities within him, and I just think he really likes to have fun. I remember one day we were in 2008. We were in Toronto, and he said ever since he was a kid he wanted to go to Niagara Falls. So we went like really early in the morning, and we were walking behind him, and I was the only out. The ladies didn't go on walks with him. And I remember we were walking behind him, and then he turned around and he saw Syamarani, and I said, "Oh, you want to take bath?" And then
it was like 2 degrees out.
Yeah, it was freezing. I got really sick, and the the water from the falls sprinkling up, and then I said, "Gurudev, what are you seeing?" I went up to him and I said, "What are you seeing as you're looking at the fall?" Because obviously the pure devotees seeing everything transcendently, and he just was kind of staring into space. And then I remember Syamarani after said, "Oh, you came here to purify all the fish and all the living, the living entities, bacteria." And in 2002, I was in the airport with Gurudev once in San Diego. I was just me and my best friend Krishnamani in LA, and Avadut Maharaj. And Gurudev said, "Oh, come sit next to me on the bench." And we were like, "I don't know." And then he was asking us how our rounds were, how many were chanting, and he said, "You were so lucky because the girls your age didn't get to come physically this close to Srila Prabhupada." He said, "But you could come stay near us." So, anyways, I read this article. Srila Vaman Maharaj said to always just remember the smiling face of your guru and their instructions, and you'll feel peaceful in all circumstances. So, just on that note, so I feel like after 15 years of being on tour, I feel like Ramananda, who actually at that time, I didn't really take much into my heart or to my bhakti, but Gurudev would always end his classes with "Don't be weak, don't be hopeless, chant your mantras, chant your rounds, and something will come." So Gurudev ki.
It's a very amazing offer that the Ganga Matas are making. Any number of books and any number of posters. And also we have wooden pictures of Gurudev, photos that somebody just donated. For any donation at all. So you can think of all the presents that you would be getting over the next year for bar mitzvahs, anniversaries, housewarmings. What else is there? Christmas, Hanukkah, what? New baby. And you know how hard it is to think of presents for everybody for all these occasions, and then you end up getting a vase or something like that. So you can think of all the presents that you have to get people, or people that you may meet that you don't even know yet. And you can give them all books and posters. Yeah, actually, whenever Vasanti and I would go to dentists and doctors all over the world, and we wanted a discount or no payment, we would just give them a poster, and then they would give us discount and no payment. So many opportunities for preaching through the books and the posters. Okay, Arti. Srila Gurudev said, "What I say in a class may evaporate into the air, but what goes into the books as a document, those guide us forever, the books." And he also wrote in a letter to Kanayalal from Germany that my legacy is mostly residing in the books that I have published.